Nightcap.
Nightcap.
Night class.
Night class. Nightclothes.
Nightclothes.
Nightclub.
Nightclub.
Night depository.
Night depository.
Night dress.
Night dress.
Night duty.
Night duty.
She is on night duty at the hospital.
Nightfall.
Nightfall.
Don't worry, we'll be back by nightfall.
Nightgown.
Nightgown.
Nighthawk.
Nighthawk.
Nighty.
Nighty.
Nightingale.
Nightingale.
Nightlife.
Nightlife.
The hotel is only a 5-minute walk from both the beach and the nightlife.
Nightlight. Nightlight.
Nightly.
Nightly.
The nightly talk show.
The band plays twice nightly in the bar.
Nightmare.
Nightmare.
Years after the accident, I still have nightmares about it.
A recurring nightmare.
Traffic was a nightmare.
This has been an absolute nightmare for me and my family.
The nightmare of going through divorce.
It was every teacher's worst nightmare.
A nightmare journey.
The nightmare of a nuclear war.
Night owl.
Night owl.
Night porter.
Night porter.
Night safe.
Night safe.
Night depository. Night safe.
Night school.
Night school.
Night shift.
Night shift.
She's on the night shift this week.
The night shift was just arriving.
Nightshirt.
Nightshirt.
Nightstand.
Nightstand.
Nightstick.
Nightstick.
Nighttime.
Nighttime.
Animals that hunt at night time.
Night watchman.
Night watchman.
Nightwear.
Nightwear.
Nignog.
Nignog. Nihilism.
Nihilism.
Nick.
Nick.
A peacenik. Nil.
Nil.
The new machine reduced labour costs to almost nil. Our team won by 2-0. Nimble.
Nimble.
Nimble fingers. A nimble climber.
Nimbus.
Nimbus. Nimbus.
Nimby.
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 Nim.
Nim. Nimrod. Nimrod.
Nincompoop.
Nincompoop.
9.
9.
He's only been in this job for 9 months.
We open at 9.
Kay was taught by her mother till she was 9.
9 times out of 10 we can solve the problem over the phone.
9 pins.
9 pins.
It's just 3 weeks into the season, and players are dropping like 9 pins.
19.
19.
It was 19 minutes past 7.
I was only 19.
In the 19th century.
Her 19th birthday.
I'm planning to leave on the 19th.
1984.
1984.
19th hole.
19th hole.
9 to 5.
9 to 5.
She didn't like working 9 to 5.
A 9-to-5 job.
90.
90.
America was far richer in the 90s.
The industry received a lot of bad publicity in the early 90s. My grandfather was in his early 90s when he died.
Temperatures were still in the high 90s.
Her 90th birthday.
Ninja.
Ninja. Ninny.
Ninny.
9th.
9th.
In the 9th century.
Her 9th birthday.
I'm planning to leave on the 9th.
Nip.
Nip.
Have we time to nip down the pub for a quick drink?
Have we time to nip down the pub for a quick drink? Another car nipped in front of me.
I've got to nip home and change my clothes.
She gently nipped the lobe of his ear. She gently nipped the lobe of his ear.
The fish swam all around her and nipped at her legs.
Try to nip this kind of bad behaviour in the bud. Try to nip this kind of bad behaviour in the bud.
Sally nipped her cheeks to make them look less pale. Sally nipped her cheeks to make them look less pale.
He nipped his finger in the door.
The frost nipped at our fingers.
She nipped off a dead flower.
His dog gave me a painful nip on the leg.
A nip of brandy.
We made it to the airport, but it was nip and tuck. We made it to the airport, but it was nip and tuck. The fourth quarter was nip and tuck, but the Bulls won 92-90.
I might consider getting a nip and tuck in a few years' time.
Nipper.
Nipper.
Nipple.
Nipple.
Nippy.
Nippy.
It's a bit nippy out there.
A nippy little car.
Niqab.
Niqab.
Nirvana.
Nirvana.
Nice eye.
Nice eye.
Knit.
Knit.
Nitpicking.
Nitpicking.
Soames was getting impatient with his daughter's constant nitpicking.
Nitrate.
Nitrate.
Potassium nitrate.
High levels of nitrates in drinking water.
Nitric acid.
Nitric acid.
Nitrogen.
Nitrogen.
Nitroglycerin.
Nitroglycerin.
Nitrous oxide.
Nitrous oxide.
Nitty-gritty.
Nitty-gritty.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty and work out the costs.
Nitwit.
Nitwit.
Nix.
Nix.
They nixed the idea of filming in Ireland.
No. No.
Are you Italian? No, I'm Spanish. Do you want any more? No, thanks. Could you help me write this? No, sorry, I haven't got time at the moment. He wanted to take me to a disco, but I said no. He wanted to take me to a disco, but I said no.
60% of people voted no.
If you're asking whether I feel the same way about her, the answer is no.
You're always complaining about work. No, I'm not. They shouldn't drive so fast. No, it's really dangerous.
No, Jimmy, don't touch that switch.
She's nearly 50. No, you're kidding.
Oh no, I've lost my wallet.
He's the director. No, the assistant director of the company.
He insists on taking us all out to dinner, and he won't take no for an answer.
I'll pay you $75 and no more. You're no better than the rest of them.
There's no food left in the fridge.
No trains will be affected by this incident.
A house with no central heating.
There's no excuse for that kind of behaviour.
No parking.
No smoking. We'll be home in no time.
There's no knowing what this lunatic will do next. There's no knowing what this lunatic will do next.
There is no denying the suffering of these families. There is no denying the suffering of these families.
That girl's no fool. That girl's no fool.
Larry's no friend of mine. If he has to do it all himself, it will be no bad thing. If he has to do it all himself, it will be no bad thing.
A question of no great importance. The answer was a definite no. Mozart's Piano Concerto number 27.
Number 10. Number 10. No account.
No account.
A no-account drifter who died of drink.
Noah's Ark.
Noah's Ark. Knob. Knob.
No ball.
No ball. Nobble. Nobble.
The jury had been nobbled and the case had to be reheard. I was nobbled by my deaf old aunt and couldn't get away.
Nobel Prize.
Nobel Prize.
Nobility.
Nobility.
The nobility of his intentions.
Noble. Noble.
It's very noble of you to spend all your weekends helping the old folk.
Noble ideas.
A member of an ancient noble family.
The Marquis would have to marry a woman of noble blood.
The old church with its noble tower. The old church with its noble tower. Nobleman.
Nobleman.
Noblesse oblige.
Noblesse oblige.
Noblewoman.
Noblewoman.
Nobly.
Nobly.
They chose to die nobly, rather than to betray their king.
Nobody. Nobody.
I knocked on the door, but nobody answered.
We get along like nobody's business.
I was a nothing and a nobody with everything to prove.
No-brainer.
No-brainer.
Joining the savings plan is a no-brainer. Just do it.
No claims bonus.
No claims bonus.
No confidence.
No confidence.
Fears that he may lose a vote of no confidence in Parliament.
The chairman has survived 4 no-confidence motions.
No count.
No count.
Nocturnal.
Nocturnal.
Hamsters are nocturnal creatures.
Rebecca paid a nocturnal visit to the flat.
Nocturne.
Nocturne.
Nod.
Nod.
I asked her if she was ready to go, and she nodded.
Mum nodded her head sympathetically.
Corbett nodded his acceptance.
The judge nodded at the foreman to proceed.
She nodded to us as she walked by. She nodded to us as she walked by.
Students will need to have a nodding acquaintance with Spanish. I missed the movie because I kept nodding off. I missed the movie because I kept nodding off.
The woman greeted us with a nod of the head.
I showed the doorman my card, and he gave a friendly nod.
We're waiting for the boss to give us the nod on this one.
The chairman's proposals are usually passed on the nod.
Noodle. Nodal.
The nodal point of the transport system.
Noddle. Noddle.
It's easy enough to do if you just use your noddle.
Node.
Node.
Nodule.
Nodule.
Noel.
Noel.
Nose.
Nose.
No fault.
No fault.
No fly zone.
No fly zone.
No frills.
No frills.
No frills accommodation.
No frills.
Noggin.
Noggin.
Use your noggin.
No-go area.
No-go area.
This part of the city was a no-go area for the police.
She made it clear that her private life was a no-go area.
No holds barred.
No holds barred.
Viewers had been promised a no-holds-barred interview with the former mayor.
No hoper.
No hoper.
A bunch of complete no-hopers.
No-how.
Know-how.
I never liked her know-how.
Noir.
Noise.
Noise.
What's that noise?
The noise of the traffic.
Try not to make a noise when you go upstairs.
There was a strange whistling noise in his ears.
There was a lot of noise outside.
Noise levels have been reduced by 20%.
The problem of aircraft noise near airports.
Both sides were making hopeful noises about the hostages.
The health minister seems to be making all the right noises.
He's now making noises about starting his own business.
Modern men who make a noise about the fact that they know how to look good.
Rumours of an election are being noised abroad.
Noiselessly.
Noiselessly.
We crept noiselessly down the hall.
His noiseless footsteps.
Noise pollution.
Noise pollution.
Noisome.
Noisome.
Noisome smells.
Noisy.
Noisy.
The kids have been really noisy today.
A noisy engine.
The bar was very noisy. He blew his nose noisily.
Nomad.
Nomad.
Nomadic.
Nomadic. Nomadic herdsman.
The son of an Air Force pilot, he had a somewhat nomadic childhood.
No man's land.
No man's land.
The no man's land between art and science.
No mark.
No mark. I'm not going to listen to that no mark.
Nom de guerre.
Nom de guerre.
Nom de plume.
Nom de plume.
Nomenclature.
Nomenclature.
The nomenclature of science.
Zoological nomenclature.
Nominal.
Nominal.
A nominal charge is made for use of the tennis courts.
The nominal head of the rebellion.
Their conversion to Christianity was only nominal.
If prices rise and the nominal wage remains constant, the real wage falls.
The nominal use of the present participle.
Nominally.
Nominally.
A nominally Christian country.
He was nominally in charge of his father's printing company.
Nominate.
Nominate.
Ferraro was the first woman to be nominated for the job of vice president.
She has been nominated as Best Actress for her part in the film Forever Together.
I nominate John to represent us at the meeting.
Next year, Mr. Jenks will retire, and Mr. Broadbent will be nominated as his replacement.
She was nominated to the Legislative Council.
Nomination.
Nomination.
Who will get the Republican nomination for president?
All the committee's nominations were approved.
The nominations for the Academy Awards were announced Tuesday. O'Neill's nomination as Chief Executive.
Nominative.
Nominative.
Nominee.
Nominee.
The Democratic Party presidential nominee.
A nominee for the post of vice president.
Non.
Non-British visitors.
A non-smoker. A non-stop flight.
Non-payment of taxes. They were very disappointed at his non-appearance.
Nonagenarian.
Nonagenarian.
Non-aggression.
Non-aggression.
Both sides are now committed to non-aggression. The countries will come together next week to sign a new non-aggression treaty. Non-alcoholic.
Non-alcoholic.
Non-alcoholic wine.
Do you have anything non-alcoholic?
Non-aligned.
Non-aligned.
The non-aligned countries of Europe.
No name.
No name.
A no-name personal computer.
Non-attendance.
Non-attendance.
He was taken into care because of his non-attendance at school.
Non-binding.
Non-binding.
The industry has signed a non-binding agreement to reduce pollution.
Nonce.
Nonce.
Nonchalant.
Nonchalant.
Has he got a girlfriend? Jill asked, trying to sound nonchalant.
He smiled nonchalantly.
Nonchalant.
Nonchalant.
Non-combatant.
Non-combatant.
Non-combatant military advisors. Non-commissioned officer.
Non-commissioned officer.
Non-committal.
Non-committal. The doctor was non-committal about my mother's chances of recovery.
The driver mumbled a non-committal reply. Non-compliance.
Non-compliance.
Companies can be prosecuted for non-compliance with the law.
Nonconformist.
Nonconformist. Non-contributory. Non-contributory.
Non-controversial.
Non-controversial.
Most of the proposals are fairly non-controversial.
Non-cooperation.
Non-cooperation.
Non-count. Non-count.
Non-custodial.
Non-custodial.
Non-dairy.
Non-dairy.
Non-dairy ice cream.
Non-denominational.
Non-denominational.
A non-denominational school.
Nondescript.
Nondescript.
A rather nondescript suburban house.
Non-dom.
Non-dom.
None.
None.
I wish I could offer you some cake, but there's none left.
Although these were good students, none had a score above 60. She waited for a reply, but none came.
Even an old car is better than none.
Despite her illness, she had lost none of her enthusiasm for life.
I know what people are saying, but none of it is true.
None of my friends phones me anymore.
Was there any mail? No, none at all.
We offered to pay our half of the cost, but Charles would have none of it.
A task that none but a man of genius could accomplish.
The mystery guest turned out to be none other than Cher herself. She seems none the worse for her experience.
I was none the wiser after his explanation.
I was none too pleased to have to take the exam again.
Non-entity.
Non-entity.
Non-essential.
Non-essential.
All non-essential travel was cancelled.
Nonetheless.
Nonetheless.
The region was extremely beautiful. Nonetheless, Gerard could not imagine spending the rest of his life there.
The paintings are complex, but have plenty of appeal nonetheless.
Non-event.
Non-event.
In the end, the match turned out to be a non-event.
Non-executive director.
Non-executive director.
Non-existent.
Non-existent.
On a Sunday morning, traffic was almost non-existent. Non-fat.
Non-fat.
Non-fat milk.
Non-fiction.
Non-fiction.
Non-finite.
Non-finite.
Non-flammable.
Non-flammable.
Non-governmental.
Non-governmental.
Emergency aid is being provided by non-governmental relief organisations.
Non-intervention.
Non-intervention.
The British government may have to abandon its policy of non-intervention.
A non-interventionist policy.
Non-iron.
Non-iron.
Non-judgmental.
Non-judgmental.
A counsellor should always be sympathetic and non-judgmental.
Non-member.
Non-member.
The price will be £30 for members, £33 for non-members. Non-members of the Labour Party.
Imports from non-member countries.
Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
He emphasized that the government's anti-nuclear position was non-negotiable.
No-no.
No-no.
Colouring your hair was a no-no at that time.
No nonsense.
No nonsense.
His no-nonsense attitude to business.
Nonpareil.
Nonpareil.
Reviews by film critic Nonpareil, Pauline Kael.
Nonpareil.
Nonpareil.
Reviews by film critic Nonpareil, Pauline Kael.
Non-partisan.
Non-partisan.
A non-partisan research group.
Non-payment.
Non-payment.
She was finally evicted in April for non-payment of rent.
Nonplussed.
Nonplussed.
Billy was completely nonplussed by Elliot's refusal.
Nonplussed.
Nonplussed.
Billy was completely nonplussed by Elliot's refusal.
Non-prescription.
Non-prescription.
Non-profit.
Non-profit.
A non-profit educational institution.
Non-proliferation.
Non-proliferation.
Over 20 countries have now signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty.
Non-refundable.
Non-refundable.
There is a £40 deposit, which is non-refundable. Non-renewable.
Non-renewable.
All countries are being asked to cut down on their use of non-renewable resources.
Non-resident.
Non-resident.
A lot of houses in the area are being bought by non-residents.
The hotel restaurant is open to non-residents.
Non-residential.
Non-residential.
Non-restrictive.
Non-restrictive.
Non-returnable.
Non-returnable.
Please send this form back with a non-returnable deposit of £60.
Non-returnable bottles.
Non-scientific.
Non-scientific.
The report is based on non-scientific data.
Nonsense.
Nonsense.
I'm a prisoner in my own home. Nonsense.
Nobody cares about me. That's absolute nonsense, Mary. All this nonsense about health foods. If you ask me, these modern teaching methods are a load of nonsense. He was talking utter nonsense as usual.
The government's housing policy is a nonsense.
By 1832, the idea had become an economic nonsense.
It is nonsense to say that mistakes are never made.
You're to stop that nonsense, do you hear me?
She won't stand any nonsense from the kids in her class.
Computer programs look like complete nonsense to me. Having the army still in power makes a nonsense of last year's elections.
Nonsensical.
Nonsensical.
This is a nonsensical argument.
Non sequitur.
Non sequitur.
Non-slip.
Non-slip.
A non-slip bath mat.
Non-smoker.
Non-smoker.
An area reserved for non-smokers.
Non-smoking.
Non-smoking.
A non-smoking restaurant.
A non-drinking, non-smoking fitness fanatic.
Non-specific.
Non-specific.
Children with non-specific abdominal pain.
The description was deliberately non-specific.
Non-standard.
Non-standard.
Non-standard dialects of English are regional dialects.
A non-standard disk size.
Non-starter.
Non-starter.
In its present form, the scheme is a non-starter.
Non-stick.
Non-stick.
Non-stop.
Non-stop.
A non-stop flight to Los Angeles.
She talked non-stop for over an hour.
Non-threatening.
Non-threatening.
It is important to create a safe, non-threatening environment for children.
Non-toxic.
Non-toxic.
Non-toxic paint.
Non-traditional.
Non-traditional.
Older non-traditional university students.
Non-traditional workdays.
Non-union. Non-union. Non-verbal.
Non-verbal.
Non-verbal forms of communication.
Non-violent.
Non-violent.
A non-violent protest against the government.
An increase in the amount of violent and non-violent crime.
Non-violence.
Non-violence.
She was committed to non-violence.
A policy of non-violence.
Non-white.
Non-white.
Noodle.
Noodle.
Serve the meat with rice or noodles.
Nook.
Nook.
A shady nook.
The table in the breakfast nook.
We searched every nook and cranny.
Nook.
Nookie.
Nookie.